Manx Radio Sport.
A very good evening and welcome once again to Friday Sport Preview on Manx Radio. Rob Pritchard here with the usual team. Let's take a look at the sporting action on and off Ireland this weekend. So coming up tonight, all of the top four in Division 2 face off against each other in a set of epic battles in Manx football this weekend. We're also going to be hearing from one of the managers involved with one of the teams battling towards the top in the second tier. In rugby, Douglas, is this their biggest test of the Regional 2 Northwest season so far? Ramsey also on the road as well, and a local derby in the Cheshire Bowl competition. And in hockey, there is action on and off Ireland, league action going on Manx shores, but also the Ireland teams in action on Saturday and Sunday. That's to come this evening. Very good evening, welcome to Friday Sport Preview on Manx Radio, taking a look towards the latest football, rugby, hockey action and more going on the Isle of Man this weekend and also further afield as well. We're going to be turning our attention to football to start with here. Yet another busy set of fixtures taking place across the Isle of Man across Saturday. There are no games on Sunday for those of you who may be wondering, and that is due to the half-term break taking place. So if you were expecting some football action on Sunday, no fixtures on Sunday this time around, but plenty going on the Saturday. And to go through it all as ever is our football correspondent Tony Metton. Tony, very good evening.
Good evening, Rob. We always look at the weather, don't we? It's just started to rain. I know you're in a warm studio. I'm with you now, but coming in, it's just started to bucket down. So hopefully no problems on that. And pretty well a league programme, but as I've just informed you, the St George's combination game against Russian, that one has gone. Unfortunately, St George's can't field a team. I know one or two clubs are sort of getting a little bit tetchy about this now, and we're just waiting for news from St George's, but it does look as if they're going to have to make a decision shortly what they're going to do.
Thank you, Tony. So yes, if you just missed that update from Tony Meppen just a moment ago, the Canada Life Combination 1 fixture between Russian United and St George's has been called off. That'll be awarded as a home walkover to Russian United. St George's sadly unable to field a team. Well, taking a look at the Canada Life Men's Premier League to start with, weirdly enough, although this is, of course, the top tier of Manx football at the moment, that's not where a lot of the spotlight is probably going to be on this weekend. But nevertheless, the Canada Life Men's Premier League, big fixtures going on across the top tier, nevertheless. We're going to start out at Glen Road and Laxey, who were looking to keep themselves in Railway Cup contention alongside the likes of Corinthians and Union Mills. They're coming up against St John's United at Glen Road on Saturday, Tony. And St John's United, sometimes you don't know quite what you're going to get from them.
I know what you're saying. It is a tough one, and I watched Laxey 7 days ago, and it was against Moran. It's a game that they were expected to win, but I think in this one there's a bit of work banter going to be going on through here because there's people that work for the same company for Laxey and for St John's as well, so no love lost tomorrow afternoon, that's for sure. But Laxey it was okay last week. It was difficult for them because Moran were trying to get some points, but Johnny Palmer's team showed at the back that they're nice and strong. They've lost Glenn Walker now, so new keepers stepped in. But when you've got Tommy Kenny in there, you've got Tom Cowan and Cameron Avery, you know that you've got a good backbone there. But going forward, what caught my eye was Aaron Bradley on the right-hand side. He's a busy young player. But the one that, for me, was number 9, Jack Keelan, who he's only a small, slight lad, but my word, he's quick and he can finish as well, and he scored a goal. So I think it's looking good in that sort of place for him. But when you've got Adam Meelan in there, I don't think he's playing tomorrow. It's a really good squad. But against St John's, I think it's going to be tough because certainly with Callum Taggart, also Dean Lees, Sam Ingham's in there, and Will Penholrick's been playing well. It's going to be a really close battle, and I'm going to go for a draw, Rob.
Very well, and then a huge battle at the bottom of the Niverson Stadium. It's the meeting of the bottom two. Onken, second from bottom, 1 win from 8, 4 points on the board up against the visitors Moran, who have lost all 8 games so far. They're still yet to get points on the board this season. Tony, how big a game is this for both sides?
I think it's a huge game because, if you're going to stay up in this league, you've got to beat the teams around you. And when you look at it, you've got St George's there, Onken, Moran. I don't expect Russian to get involved with it, even though they're only a point clear of Geordies and Onken. And Ramsey, to me, they're in a false position, but the scores haven't just quite gone for them. But these two teams, I watched them around last Saturday against Laxey. They battled really well, and Colin Gilbert will be happy with that, the standing manager for that game. But I just wonder where the goals are going to come from them. I know they got one last week, but they're not scoring enough. And as we're with Onken, they've got one or two really good scorers in there. Josh Kenyon's been playing really well. And when you look at sort of going forward, the O'Neill boys have put in good performances. And I just think, unfortunately for Brown, it's going to be 9 out of 9 they're going to have lost. And I'm going to go with the 3 points to Onken.
Very well. Then up north, Andres Playingfield's Ayr United, top of the pile at the moment, 22 points after 8 games, and the only undefeated side in the top flight as it stands. They're going to be at home against St Mary's. Yeah,
St Mary's, it's one of them. It's whatever players they've got available. Joe Berquist has been their standout player, certainly on that right-hand side. Really good player. You've got Owen Canepa in there. But then it's just left to sort of what players. I think Frank Jones wasn't available last week. Whether he's selected this week, we'll wait and see. But Ayr United, banging form, aren't they? Scoring plenty of goals. And, there's no doubt about it. Sean Kelly's been the absolute star in there. And when you look at right the way through the team, they've looked strong. They've looking fit, which is an important thing for them. And I can only see one winner here, Rob, and that's Ayr United.
And we mentioned before about the battle of the bottom two, Onken and Moran. Well, the two teams just above those two are meeting this weekend as well at Glencrutchery Road, because 11th place St George's on 6 points, 2 points ahead of Onken, who are second from bottom in 12th. They come up against Russian United, who are just above Geordies in the table in 10th. Yeah,
you're just waiting for Russian to get started, aren't you? Because it's been really tough for them. And I know Andrew Moody was talked into away from packing in the job as number one at Russian and take it back on for another season, but it's been tough for him. I've noticed the squad seems to have changed a little bit. There's younger players in there who've done really well. I noticed Stevie Ryden, I think he's been injured, so he's come back into the squad. You've got Aaron Hawley who can score goals, but that's the problem. They've got to try and score more goals to try and put the pressure on the opposition. And against the Georges, when they've got Sean Quaid, Chris Bass, Kieran McNulty and others in there, then they're always in with a chance. I don't know what the squad news is for St George's tomorrow, but I'm going to go for the Croyt Lowy team to win it. I just think they're just a little bit of a step ahead of St George's.
Very well, and then out to the west and Douglas Road, and this could be a cracker on paper at least. Peel 3 points off the pace of Ayr United. Peel in second at the moment, won 6 of their 8 games so far, and they're up against 4th place Foxdale, who are right in that mix at the moment for the Railway Cup positions.
It is, and that's the important one for Foxdale. When you look at Peel, Thomas Brown's been absolutely superb, and we're coming to the end of the month again for Play of the Month, and Thomas Brown will be well and truly in there because he's been in great form. I know Rhys Oates has picked up a little bit of an injury, so whether he plays, but I think the important thing for Peter Kenyuk is to have his centre-backs back in there. And I know Aaron Costain plays centre-forward, but he can do that centre-back role. Daniel Lace has been then in there helping things, and they just need, one or two sort of other players back in to help things. But, Peel have still got that sort of lead, haven't they? When you look at the goal difference, they've got the strongest goal difference in that league. But Foxdale have got that lethal forward line, and if Peel can contain that, and if anything, the defect for Peel is the defence, the plus side for Foxdale is their forward line. What a great game, and I agree with you. Douglas Road as well, but I'm going to go for Peel to take the points.
And the remaining game in the Canada Life Men's Premier League sees Corinthians third at the moment. They're one of 3 teams on 18 points, along with Foxdale in 4th and Laxey in 5th. They're coming up against a Union Mill side, Tony, who've had a great start, but all of a sudden, after just a couple of little slip-ups, they find themselves 6 points off that trio, battling for the Railway Cup positions.
But I think Ryan Kelly, the manager of Union Mills, will be quite happy with the way things have gone for them. He's sort of missing, or he's at times, Tyler Hughes and Luke Booth, and well done to Luke for what he's doing at FC Isle of Man. It's fantastic the way he's going about it. But defensively they've looked strong. The goalkeeper Mason Prince has been missing. He's suspended, so it's going against them a little bit. But Corinthians, I know it's my club, Rob, but when I look at the young lads that are coming through and how much they've improved in 12 months, it's truly incredible. And when you look at the forward line, Jao Marquez in there, you've got Joe Middleton as well. They're scoring plenty of goals, defensively strong, and it's nice to have Quirker in goal as well. I'm going to go for Corinthians to take victory.
Very well, that's Canada Life Men's Premier League, but do we have some cracking fixtures coming up in Ardern and Drug Unlimited Division 2 tomorrow across 2 fixtures? All of the top 4 are facing each other. The current leaders, Colby, they travel to Douglas High School Old Boys tomorrow, and we're going to be hearing more from the Old Boys perspective in a few moments as well. Old Boys third and only 2 points off Colby, but with the game in hand. Meanwhile, Braddon in second hosts Michael United in fourth. Tony, just on those 2 fixtures, first of all, they look like they could be great entertainment for the neutral.
Well, I'm going to stand firm tomorrow. I'm going to Blackberry Lane, so it doesn't matter where you think you're going to send me. I'm going there because I want to watch Colby play, to be honest with you. I know what Old Boys have got, and they are a much improved team, and we'll let the manager talk about that later on. I believe Robbie Ward's missing tomorrow, which is a shame for Douglas High School Old Boys because he's a bit of a link, him and Martin King as well, to keep things going. But just right the way through, George Kearns has been scoring goals. And I watched them play twice this year, and they're good football inside. And it's down to a good blend of youth and experience, and hopefully we'll drag out of Carl later how they've managed to get these young players in. But against Colby, Carl Hickey's been in good form. You look at other players in there as well, have been scoring plenty of goals. This is going to be a humdinger of a game, but I think Old Boys have got enough to take victory.
And the other one there, Braddon on her home soil up against Michael United, who at times have been very free scoring.
Yeah, and I think on this one, Rob, I'm here to do a job, so I've got to speak openly what's going on, and I don't know what's going on at the moment because Braddon, let's put them to one side, but Michael United, I just don't get it, and hopefully I've got this right, but the manager has left, and suddenly 7 of the first team, I've been told, have left Michael as well, which is a big shame because Michael are a fantastic club. They've got great facilities, and you know they just missed out last year, and this year they're going well. They've got one of the most potent players in the league in Liam Kay, and he stayed. But I just don't know what's going on, and players need to take a look at it because I've seen it so many times where a big group goes and then 2 weeks later they regret it. So you know it's a shame because of all the hard work that's been done. So this is going to, I think, have a different view to the scoreline now because Braddon, as you rightly say, second in the league with 16 points, 7 games played. Michael have played 8 with 14. But it's going to be a tough time, and I just wonder, you know, if combination players are going to have to step up tomorrow, it might be a step too far. So I have to go with Braddon to win, and I feel sorry for you, Michael. I know what's going on, and I hope Michael United can sort it out.
Well, if anyone from Michael United out there is listening, please do. If you can shed any light on the situation that Tony may have just mentioned there, please do let us know. 166 177. The other 2 games taking place in Ardern and Drug Unlimited Division 2 tomorrow. Let's not forget Douglas Royal up against Douglas and District, and Governors Athletic hosting Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys. Yeah,
when you look at Douglas Royal, 9th in the league, and just below them is Douglas and District, 2 places below. There's 4 points difference. Douglas Royals, I would say, starting lineup tomorrow will look completely different to what it has done. So I think I've got to go with Douglas Royal to win this one. But there's one thing for sure. Douglas and District, even though they're bottom of the table, Rob, they always give 100% to the club's name and to the club badge and to their teammates as well. It's absolutely fantastic the way they keep chipping away. And it'll turn the corner soon. The younger players are coming through for them. But I just think Douglas Royal tomorrow will be just a slightly too strong for them.
Very well, and okay, let's take a quick look at the combination leagues as well. We were due to have 6 games in Canada Life Combination 1. If you missed it before, one of those games has been called off. Russian United versus St George's, a home walkover to Russian United. St George's unable to field a team, but 5 more games taking place there. Yeah,
look at St John's against Laxey. I'm going to go for St John's to win. Liam Sale with another 2 goals last week. I don't know how many he scored so far. I'll have to tally up, but he scored an awful lot. I think 3 hat-tricks and certainly a couple of braces in there, so he's going really well. I just think Laxey will find it a little bit too strong for them. Moran against Onken. Onken are absolutely flying at the top of the table, and they'll keep going. I think Moran find it difficult to break them down. St Mary's against Ayr United. This one kicks off 1:45 at the Bowl. I'm going to go for St Mary's just to sneak it, but the 2 teams are near enough next to each other in the league. Russian United and St George's obviously has gone. Foxtel against Peel. I'm going to go for Peel to win that. And Union Mills against Corinthians. I'll go for the Ballafletcher team to take victory.
And last but certainly not least, we've got 5 games scheduled in Ardern and Drug Unlimited Combination 2.
Yeah, Douglas Royal against Douglas and District. I'm going to go for Douglas and District to take victory. Ramsey Youth Centre against Governors. I'll go with Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys. Colby against Old Boys. I've got to go for Old Boys when you look at the league table. I looked at Carl there just in case he give me a little sly dig. Castletown against Jims. Castletown might have gained a couple of players this week, so I'll go for Castletown to be stronger and then to take the 3 points there. And Michael United against Braddon. Fingers crossed this one goes ahead. You have to go with Braddon to win.
Tony, thanks very much. We'll be coming back to you in just a few moments. But turning our attention back to Division 2 and those great fixtures between the top four all taking place on Saturday. Someone who's right in the midst of that this weekend. And, of course, in the opening exchanges toward the top of Division 2 this season is Douglas High School Old Boys first-team manager Carl Gartland, who I'm delighted to say joined us in the studio this evening. Carl, very good evening.
Good evening, Rob. You okay?
Very well, thanks. Very well. So I'm going to go straight into it. So Old Boys at the moment, just only 2 points off Colby at the top, but with the game in hand, played 6 to Colby 7. Early stages of the season, of course, but as we always like to ask at this point, how would you assess your side's start to the campaign?
It's really good. Yeah, we were a little bit worried at the start. With obviously last year we had a lot of older lads playing, and we didn't know where we were going to be, and we didn't know what was going on. And we got a good group of lads in, a good group of young lads come in, and has helped us out big time. So with the good group of good lads, the young lads, and a good combination of the older lads, it's been really good this year. I can't complain.
Tony has pointed out earlier in the season as well, I think he mentioned that he observed one of the games involving the Old Boys under-18 side, and one of the observations that Tony made was it was good to see younger players coming through the system there. Has that been a really conscious effort going into this season to try and get the next generation of players through, not just for this season, but looking several years into the future?
Yeah, we spoke about it last year when me and my Uncle John came in, and we spoke about the committee and said we want to get a lot of younger players in, because it was like a lot of people my age still playing, like 37, 38, and we thought we've got no younger lads, so we made a conscious effort to try and get them in, but we didn't expect to get the group of lads we got in. What's been a blessing in disguise, really.
But along with getting the younger generation in, important in any club, in any sport, really getting the next generation through. But having those experienced players in the system, even though you missed out on promotion last season, you went on to win the GH Corlett's Woods Cup as a team as well. So how important has that balance been between getting those younger players in, like you say, which is you see as a big positive, but also making sure you've got some of those experienced heads in there to balance things out? Yeah,
the experienced heads are really good as well, because they've obviously been playing a long time. The younger lads are looking up to them, younger lads are listening to them. They've been really positive throughout, bringing them through, setting an example at training, setting an example on the Saturday for them, because a lot of them young lads, this is their first season playing senior football, so it's a big step up from obviously junior football for them. So having them older lads around has been brilliant.
Turning back to the immediate then, and this weekend, and as we've mentioned a few times, it's so close up toward the top. Just 4 points separating the top four at the moment. Old Boys right in the midst of that going into this weekend. Does that make your job as a manager even more exciting when you've got that level of competition around you?
Yeah, but it also makes it a lot more nervous as well, because I say we're going to win tomorrow, but then I'm also thinking, have I just put the jinx on us? But I believe in my team. I believe in what we do. So I think that we'll give them a good game tomorrow. It's going to be a good test for us anyway, but I think we'll beat them. Yeah.
And just on top of that as well, we were chatting off air before we actually came onto the show, and the one thing that you pointed out to me was the fact that you don't pay attention to tables, points totals, anything like that.
No, I don't, because I feel like you can get carried away with yourself. It's the old cliche of take one game at a time, and I fully believe that. I usually find out who we're playing probably on a Tuesday at training, and I just go from there. Just take every game as it comes.
Going forward for the rest of the season, this might sound like a very obvious question, but do you see yourself as a side looking to challenge for those top two spots and possibly the title in Division 2 this season? And do you maybe envisage as well a cup run of some sort?
Yeah, 100%. It wasn't obviously on our plans this year to push for that, but you never say you're not going to challenge for the league. But the whole point was to get the young lads in, get them acclimatised with everybody, and kind of push it forward and get a good season behind them and see what they are. We've had a great start. Honestly, didn't expect us to start this well, and that's now you kind of change what you want to do a bit, and now you're thinking, yeah, we can challenge, yeah, we can go on a good cup run. And I feel like I can't wait then to test them against the Division 1 teams when they come up against us in the cup as well.
What would be the biggest things in a hypothetical scenario if Old Boys were to get promoted this season, and like say those younger players, exposing them to that level of football? What do you think would be the biggest lessons they would learn in the top flight?
More that we could learn a bit more on our discipline. We could get that a bit more. You're going to come up against a lot stricter referees further up you go, so we could tie our discipline in a little bit. we'd be nice to keep some of the older people around, but I know a lot of them have said if we get promoted, they're not playing next year, because I feel like they're just happy with that, Division 2 stuff. So it'd be trying to get a couple of older heads in again, just to give that experience and guide the lads through to a different league, because again, it'll be another step up.
And as you've already mentioned, you're confident in getting a result over against the current league leaders, Colby, going into this weekend. But not just for yourselves in the first team, but also the combination side as well. They're one of 3 teams on 19 points, battling at the top of Ardern and Drug Unlimited Combination 2 at the moment, alongside Braddon and Colby, full enough, battling in Division 2 with yourselves as well. So just how positive a feeling is there around the club?
At the club at the minute, it's really good feeling. We've got a great committee, great group of lads. Everybody's like pulling together. And the combi's looking strong as ever as well. So I reckon, I think it's a 6-point Saturday.
Very well. Well, Carl, thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate your time, and all the very best for the rest of the season. That's Carl Gartland, the Douglas High School Old Boys first team manager there, ahead of his sides clash with Division 2 leaders Colby this weekend. Moving on, and Saturday sees FC Isle of Man face their second of back-to-back NWCFL Premier Division away games as they take on current title contenders Chadderton. The Manchester side are just 2 points off the league summit going into the weekend, but the Ravens find themselves in a lofty 5th in the standings and targeting a 3rd straight win. Well, the last time these two met was on the opening day of the season, when FC Isle of Man surrendered a 2-goal lead as both played out an eventual 2-2 draw. The Manx side's manager, Paul Jones, says whilst the result that day was frustrating, it's proof in his eyes his players can compete with the best in the division and should approach this weekend with a no-fear attitude.
That we're good enough to be right up there where they are. We were 2-0 up. We probably should have gone on and seen the game out at the time. They went on and have done very well, and we had a bit of a patchy run of form the 10 games after that. So, firstly, there's nothing to fear, but they're a very good side with good attacking threat and quality. But, we're certainly capable of causing them more than a few problems, and we're looking forward to that challenge. Respect them, but believe that we've got more than enough in the locker to give them a really difficult game.
And with Chadderton, obviously, they've had a very strong start to this campaign and were very strong for much of the last campaign, only just missed out on the promotion playoff spots after being promoted. What do you think makes them such a consistently strong team at the moment over the last season and a half?
Yeah, they've got a similar sort of playing group to last year. They've got a way of playing that everybody knows and that obviously works well for them, and they're maybe going a little bit more direct this season than they were last season, and certainly maybe even were when we played them at home. So everyone looked at that result at the time and were disappointed to not win the game. We knew at the time that draw, in the context of how the season will play out, we knew they were going to be one of the top teams in the division this year. So they're an experienced group. They've got lots of quality. We've got some good attacking threat of our own, and touch wood, our defence has been fairly resolute.
Just to rewind a little bit to last weekend and that 3-1 win away at Longridge Town, you weren't there in person. You had some personal commitments that weekend, but the team coming away with a 3-1 win, and we spoke to the club captain, Sean Doyle, after the game, and he said there was a feeling that was one of the best all-round performances, particularly in the first half of that game. So in the days following and going into this weekend, what has been said to, I suppose, build on that performance and maybe maintain some of the good qualities that the side showed against Longridge Town?
Yeah, certainly, what we looked at on Tuesday night was getting better at being us again. We spoke about not letting up and making sure that we keep the pressure on and we keep moving forward. We're not the finished article by any stretch of the imagination, and we need to keep improving to keep winning games at this level of football. So it's about getting better at being ourselves, and I've said that a number of times to you, but we know what we're trying to do, and it's about giving the players the tools in order to do that.
And in terms of the squad itself, for the Longridge game, we saw a couple of other regular names coming back into the setup. Both Adam Adebayi and Dean Pinnington featured in the squad at Longridge after spells out. Steve Whitley returned after a couple of weeks of being unavailable as well. So is that quite an exciting prospect for you that more players are again coming back into the fold over the last couple of weeks?
Yes, for sure. It makes competition for places interesting, which is what we want. We want, a couple of players in every position who are supporting each other to be the best that they can be, but also putting healthy pressure on each other to have to perform week in and week out. So having those players of that quality kind of coming back in to the squad and helping and supporting those young players who have done exceptionally well while the more known names have been missing, it's really exciting from a manager's point of view, and certainly saw that training on Tuesday in terms of the quality that everybody was producing. So it's great. Danny Gerard's back available again this weekend. He had a bit of a rest last week because he needed a rest, and a bit like Steve Whitley had with his breakaway, and Dean and Sean and Adam and Ryan Burns and Jamie with their kind of injuries that are now looked to be somewhere close to being resolved. So yeah, we've got a fresh and hungry group. because of their age and because of, some of their lack of experience of playing at this level, but also because some of those experienced players have had time away through enforced reasons, through injury or otherwise, and they're coming back really hungry and ready to push hard into the dark winter months, which is maybe something we haven't necessarily had over the last kind of 2 or 3 seasons. When we get to this stage of the season, everybody's a little bit kind of like tired, and you didn't know where that energy was going to come from if you weren't winning games. And I certainly see a completely different energy within the group at this stage of the season than I did in the last 2 seasons. So that's really exciting from my point of view.
Paul Jones, FC Isle of Man manager, ahead of his side's tie against Chadderton in the NWCFL Premier Division, kicking off at 3 p.m. tomorrow, taking place at the neutral venue of the Vestacare Stadium, the home of Abra FC, due to Chadderton's ongoing refurbishments at their home, the Falcon Fire Stadium. Well, Tony, very quickly, got around 90 seconds or so before we have to move this on here, but from an FC Isle of Man perspective, good win for them last weekend. We heard from the captain, Sean Doyle, during Saturday Sport Classified last weekend after the game, and he said that, particularly in the first half, it felt like a very complete performance. Do you think that's something they'll have to manage against a Chadderton team that's battling away with Ramsbottom United at the top?
Well, they're top side, aren't they? But that shouldn't faze FC Isle of Man, because they're 4th in the league. And when you look at Ramsbottom, 2 great performances in there, Bury as well. So they shouldn't be in fear of it at all. I just wonder, I haven't seen the squad for tomorrow, but Paul Jones must be under a bit of pressure now, because he's got a lot of players coming back from injury. And the players who have come in actually have hit form. So what do? Do you go with the player that's got form or the guy that's got history? So we'll just wait and see. But, it's a great run that they're having. They're home next week, which is really good to see. Just see how they've moved on. But well done to them. Congratulations. They're pulling it together absolutely superbly.
We put that to Paul Jones about the fact there's more players coming back. We've seen Sean Doyle returning in the last few weeks, but also at Longridge we saw Adam Adebayi and Dean Pennington returning to the fold from injury. Steve Whitley returning after a couple of weeks unavailable, who was scoring at a great rate going into this time away that he had. So it's always a good thing, he thinks, to have that selection problem. Do you agree?
Yeah, it is good. I'm a big fan of Dean Pennington. I just think in that midfield, some people say he holds onto the ball too long. I don't think so. Steve Whitley is one of the best players on the Isle of Man going down that right-hand side. I want a little bit more from Charlie Higgins. I'm not being horrible about him. I just think he's an absolutely superb player. And Sean Doyle just thrives off them two. So it's great to see. Well done to them. And hopefully some more points coming in tomorrow.
Tony Mepham, thank you very much indeed, and we'll be hearing from you again on Saturday Live with Paul Moran tomorrow afternoon as well. We're going to be talking rugby matters next, and is it Douglas's biggest test of the season so far? We'll find out in just a few moments.
Manx Radio Sport.
Welcome back to Friday Sport Preview on Manx Radio, and we are turning our attention now to rugby. And have we seen Douglas turning a corner in the Regional 2 Northwest? Well, after a string of positive results and performances, including a big win at home to Altrincham Kersal last time out, they face arguably their biggest test of the season so far at 4th place Burnage. Elsewhere, they're not the only ones on their travels, as Ramsey are in Cheshire Vars action tomorrow, and there's a local derby tomorrow as well in the Cheshire Bowl. Let's take a look, as always, through everything that's in store is our rugby correspondent Dave Christian, who I've been catching up with. Dave, first of all, we'll turn to Douglas. A great result for them at home to Altrincham Kersal last weekend, but they're on the road at Burnage this weekend in Regional 2 Northwest, and Burnage, they really have been one of the big hitters of this league so far, haven't they?
Yeah, we spoke about this in Saturday Sport Classified last week. You asked me the question, have Douglas turned the corner? I'm pretty certain I said, let's wait and see what happens against Burnage first. Burnage are the first real big teams that Douglas have come across so far. Everyone else is scratching around a little bit mid-table-ish, but Burnage are just there in the top 4, and they've established a little bit of a gap further away from the chasing group. They've not been a perfect. This is Douglas's first real big test. Last week at home, they were awesome. It's the only way to describe it against Altrincham Kersal. The Douglas attack was great. The Douglas defence was great. But they did leak a couple of tries in the last 10 minutes. That took the gloss off the result a little bit, and it perhaps diminishes, at least on paper, the standard of the Douglas play. The front 5 was excellent. Simon Hoddenot, as usual, charging around the field like a mad thing. And the combination of Ralph Clark and Rich Bell on the other side of the scrum seems to work. Ralph provides a little bit more of a conventional loose head prop forward, whereas Rich Bell tries to carry the ball a little bit. So they've got a great front five. Liam Kirkpatrick was excellent in the back row. Nathan Robson, first full game for Douglas at scrum half, and his home debut, picked up Man of the Match award as well. So they've got things nudging in the right direction. I suspect the one problem they may have is the number 10 jersey. Not heard whether Bryn Snellgrove's going to be available to travel this week. If he is, everything will be perfect for them. If Bryn isn't able to travel, then they've got some options, but they're not ideal. Snellgrove really is the mastermind behind this team. Doesn't get too much ball time, but he knows when to kick, when to run, when to pass, and he's always there to marshal his troops. And it's difficult to understate his importance to this squad. If Bryn Snellgrove's in the number 10 jersey, I think they've got a better than average chance of coming back with some points. If he's not there, then they're going to have to fill in. Lucas Simmons can play in at 10. Sam McCord can play at 10. Nathan Robson can play at 10. But it's just not the same as Evan Snellgrove's experience.
Okay, well, that's Douglas. Turning our attentions to the north of the island and Ramsey specifically, they're going to be involved in Cheshire competition action. They're going to be facing New Brighton in the Cheshire Vars at New Brighton at 2:30 p.m. on Saturday. Now, Dave, Ramsey had themselves a good opening Cheshire Vars win back in August against Prenton, 52-19. Coming up against this New Brighton side, what different type of challenge do you think New Brighton might offer?
Well, Prenton currently aren't playing in the English Clubs Championship, so they're always going to be difficult to measure. New Brighton are. Now, Vagabonds play in Counties 3, ADM, Lancashire and Cheshire, and New Brighton are 2 divisions higher. They're in Counties 1. New Brighton near the bottom half of Counties 1 ADM, which is going to give Ramsey a little bit of optimism. Ramsey will fancy their chances of beating most teams in Vagabonds League. They'll fancy their chances at maybe the bottom half of the league above. And the league above that, someone near the bottom, isn't too far away from them on paper. A couple of problems for the Ramsey team. Nathan Robson obviously has gone to Douglas. So Ramsey are going to have a gap and the number 9 shirt. Danny Howard's been filling in the Manx Shield. He's done a great job, but he's not available to travel, so it looks like Sam Corlett's going to get the nod at scrum half. In the 10 jersey, Tom Moffat is going to come back into the team. He's been out for a long time. He's had a knee injury and a shoulder injury. He's back. He was back against Western Vikings, so Tom might get the nod, I think, in the 10 jersey. Elsewhere, it's pretty much full strength. I think the only name missing from the Ramsey squad list is Eddie Lord in the second row. We've got Neil Hume and Jacob Coutinho going to partner up in the engine room of the scrimmage. They played, I think, in that first game against Prenton, so there's no issues with that. And Brandon Atchison, Ramsey's try-scoring machine, he's going to start on the wing, where perhaps some might say he's best suited. So Ramsey pretty much at full strength, just perhaps Eddie Lord missing. I think Kieran Neal is the other one who's missing, potentially from either the back row or the centre. He's a utility player. He's picked up a wrist injury in training, but I think Ramsey will fancy their chances here. They've still got another shot after this because they have to play Wallasey on the 23rd of November. And if they don't pick up a win at New Brighton, they still got a chance of qualification by beating Wallasey. But that might depend on the game between Prenton and New Brighton, which is also coming up on the 23rd of November. So fingers crossed for Ramsey. We'll hopefully have some score updates during the course of Saturday afternoon for that one.
Well, that's the Cheshire Vars, Ramsey on their trip to New Brighton. There's also going to be Cheshire Bowl action, and it's a local derby as well out in the west of the island at QE2 at 2:15 on Saturday. That's going to see Western Vikings up against Southern Nomads, who were involved in the Cheshire Bowl final with Ramsey last season before Ramsey went on to win that and therefore got promoted into the Cheshire Vars competition. Western Vikings, we haven't seen too much of them so far, Dave. Southern Nomads haven't had a great deal of experience and match time at the start of the season. How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, it should be a Nomads win on paper. They had a good performance last week against what was quite a strong Douglas Casuals team. That was just a friendly match. But Nomads win it quite convincingly, I think 42-14 there and thereabouts. They give Ramsey a scare in the Manx Shield back in September. Ramsey winning by 6 or 7 points in the end, but it was a try with the last play of the game that flattered the scoreboard on that game. And of course, Nomads beat Port Sunlight away in the Cheshire Bowl already, which indicates they're perhaps one of the teams to watch in the competition. Western Vikings, as you rightly say, made the Cheshire Plate final last season, lost 28-0 to Ramsey in a horrible rainy day up at Bella Fletcher. But since then, the Vikings squad has struggled a little bit. They struggled to get a team out against Ramsey 2 weeks on the trot, and I think some of the players are getting some game time in the English Clubs Championship up at Vagabonds. I've seen Ed Knight on the team sheet, Harvey Collister and Tom Randall. If they're starting to suffer a little bit of player leakage to Vagabonds, that might have a long-term effect on the squad and the club as a whole. Without the game time, the only game we think we've got on paper for them is a loss up at Ramsey, 54 points to 6 or there and thereabouts. I think Western Vikings are probably going to struggle here, and we should see Southern Nomads go top of the pool.
Dave Christian, our rugby correspondent there, ahead of this weekend's fixtures. We have also had confirmation of Douglas's starting 15, heading to Varley Park in Stockport to take on Burnage in the Regional 2 North West tomorrow. It is as follows. It is from numbers 1 all the way through to 15 in order. It is Phil Kringle, Simon Hoddinott, Owen Carvin, Connor Garland, the captain, Blake Snell, Percy Hampton, Mark Oldfield, Harry Cartwright, Nathan Robson, Josh Duncan, Brendan Kelly, Harry Hewson, Charlie Henthorne, Callum Dentith and Carl Martin. 3 substitutes, Wilf Kermode, Blake Everson and Lewin Scarf. We heard Dave mentioning one of the key players there, Bryn Snellgrove, and whether he would be involved or not, and it appears he is not in the Douglas travelling squad heading to Burnage in the Regional 2 North West this weekend. Well, we're going to be turning our attention to hockey in a few moments' time, and it's both on and off-island hockey action this weekend. We're back in just a moment.
Manx Radio Sport.
You're listening to Friday Sport Preview here on Manx Radio. Just gone 16 minutes past 6 here on Friday the 25th of October. Turning our attention to hockey now, and a little bit different this weekend. As the season progresses, we now have a mixture of on and off-island action taking place this Saturday. Important to note before we bring our hockey correspondent in on this, the games taking place on Saturday locally in the leagues. The Mixed Premier League, all games have been postponed there, and that is due to the Isle of Man senior national teams being in action this weekend. We'll get to that in a few moments as well. But the games postponed in the Mixed Premier League this weekend are Backers B and Harlequins A, Castletown Celts versus Vikings B, Valkyries B versus Vikings A, and Backers A versus Valkyries A. All those fixtures postponed, and we'll provide more details on when those fixtures are due to be played in just a few moments' time. And that seems like the right moment to bring in our hockey correspondent Ben Cunningham. And Ben, an interesting weekend ahead, because we've got not just the league action, which is continuing to intrigue those of a hockey persuasion, but of course another great challenge for a number of the island sides across the water.
Absolutely, yeah. So we've got Mixed Division 1, Mixed Division 2, Mixed Division 3 all going ahead this weekend. No under-15s fixtures with it being half-term. But yeah, our island senior ladies and men's teams all off island, as well as our under-18 boys.
Well, let's take a look at the local leagues then to start with. We'll start with Mixed Division 1, 3 games there. The early pushback at 11:05 at the NSC, and this sees Backers C, the current Mixed Division 1 leaders, unbeaten, the only team unbeaten in Mixed Division 1 at the moment, with 4 wins and 2 draws from their 6 games, and they're coming up against the Vikings D side, rooted to the bottom, but do have now points on the board.
Yeah, absolutely, and I mean, Vikings D have got points on the board, but they need to get a few more. At the minute, they are bottom of the league, and they're only bottom because their C team is ahead of them on goal difference. So a massive battle going on there in the Vikings camp. However, Backers C, though, they were held by Valkyries C last weekend in a draw. So yeah, that's brought the gap at the top down massively, and it's made things really interesting going forward this weekend. I'm going to go for a Backers C win, though.
Very well. At 12:35 at Ramsey Grammar School is maybe one of the pick the ties this weekend, Ben. Don't know if you agree. And that's Ramsey A versus Castletown Southerners in Mixed Division 1. Ramsey A 4th at the moment. They had a slow start after being relegated last season, but have picked up a few results to get to within 1 point of Valkyries C in 3rd. And their opponents, Castletown Southerners, are on 9 points up in 2nd. So points really quite valuable for these two teams in 2 slightly different positions.
Absolutely, yeah. Southerners are hot on the heels of Backers C. But then Ramsey A, they've, like you say, had a slow start, but then they found their form again, and they are really in the background there, just waiting in case maybe Southerners or Backers C slipped up, and they could take full advantage of it. However, though, I think I'm going to go for a Southerners win,
just their form at the minute is really good, whereas Ramsey's at the minute is like some weeks good, and then some weeks it's dropped, but then it goes back good again. So Southerners' form at the minute is looking the better of the two sides, so Castletown Southerners win.
And the other game in Mixed Division 1 is at 2:05 at QE2 in Peel, and it's Valkyries C who earned a very good, impressive 3-3 draw up against the lead Mixed Division 1 leaders Bacchus C last weekend, up against Viking C, who only have 2 points on the board at the moment.
Yeah, and like we said before when we were talking about Vikings D, Vikings C do need points as well. So this is going to be a massive game and one that they'll hope they can get something out of. However, though, Valkyries C, I think they'll be on a high for holding the lead leaders last weekend to a 3-3 draw. And I think this week they'll go on and get a win. So a Valkyries C win there.
Into Mixed Division 2 then, 12:35 at QE2, and it's a battle between the bottom two sides in Mixed Division 2. Valkyries D, they've lost all 6 games so far, yet to get points on the board, and they're coming against Castletown Cushags, who have 1 win and 1 draw from their 6 games so far. So for Valkyries D, Ben, is there a better chance than up against this Castletown Cushag side, who are also in need of points?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Valkyries D, they have got points. They've got a win this season. However, it was only in the cup. But Cushags, I think, will get the win there, so Cushags win.
And then a battle between first and second in Mixed Division 2, because 2:05 at Castle Rushen High School, Castletown Camags, second in the table on 10 points, up against the leaders Harlequins B, who are one of only 2 teams across all the divisions to have a 100% record at this point, along with Bacchus A in the Mixed Premier League. Harlequins, 6 wins from 6 on 12 points, but only 2 points separating them. Battle at the top of Mixed Division 2.
Yeah, absolutely, and Harlequins been scoring lots of goals at the minute. So Camags will just have to hope they can keep them out. Harlequins' goal difference is massive. 30 goals they've scored this season and only 3 conceded. So that's a fantastic achievement.
33 scored and 3 conceded, so the goal difference of plus 30.
Yes,
some record.
It's massive there. So it's going to be a hard task for Camags, I think, and I think Harlequins are going to keep their 100% record.
Very well, and Mixed Division 2, 3:35 at Ramsey Grammar School. That's Ramsey Ravens in 4th on 4 points, up against Bacchus Colts just above them in 3rd on 7 points.
Yeah, this one I think will be a close game, mid-table battle. Of course, Bacchus Colts are sitting the more favourable of the 2 sides, but Ramsey Ravens have really found some form in the last few games, and I think they could cause Bacchus Colts maybe a few challenges here. So I'm gonna go for a Bacchus Colts win, but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Ravens might prove a shock here.
And last but certainly not least, in the local leagues tomorrow, Mixed Division 3, there are 3 games, one of which sees the top 2 meet Castletown Cosney at the top on 10 points and Vikings E in 2nd on 9 points at Castle Rushen High School. Just cast your eye over those 3 games there, Ben.
Yeah, so Castletown Carricks against Harlequins C. I'm going to go for a Harlequins C win there. And then Cosney against Vikings E. We're going to go for a Cosney win. And then Ramsey Rookies against Bacchus D. I'm going to go for a Bacchus D win on them.
Thank you, Ben. And taking a look then at what's happening off Ireland, we have 5 of the Isle of Man's, 4 I should say, 4 of the Isle of Man's national teams in action on Saturday and Sunday. 3 of those are on Saturday in the England Hockey Knockout competitions. In the Tier 2 competition, the ladies Tier 2, the Isle of Man ladies A side will face Goulburn and Prescott ladies first at Goulburn. The Isle of Man ladies B in the Tier 3 knockout competition away at Liverpool Sefton seconds on Saturday. And the Isle of Man men's A are away at West Derby men's firsts in the England Hockey Knockout competition Tier 2 in the men's competition on Saturday, and then the one game on Sunday, the Ireland Under-18 boys squad are away in the England Hockey Knockout competition Tier 2 at Under-18 level against Preston. So Ben, just very quickly to start with, you've got just a couple of minutes here, but the fact again the Isle of Man can field 2 ladies teams again across Tier 2 and Tier 3 is impressive.
Yeah, it just shows how much enthusiasm there is to play for the island in Manx hockey, and it's great, like you say, to see not just 1 but 2 ladies teams going into this campaign. And then obviously with the men, we have got 2 teams as well in the men's going forward, so it's great to see, and it's really good as well looking at the squads going across this weekend. A wide variety of players from different clubs.
We were talking about this a moment ago. I think it's all but 1 Ireland club is represented across all these teams this weekend. That's fantastic, isn't it?
It's absolutely fantastic, and it's great to see that other clubs are really like getting involved. So like it's really impressive to see, because like if we take the ladies A for an example, we've got 2 players from Bacchus, 5 from Castletown, 1 from Harlequins, 2 from Valkyries, and then 4 from Vikings. So it's a massive spread of players from different clubs, and of course these players would be playing each other week in and week out on the island. And now it's great that they have the opportunity to all play together and represent the island. And I'm sure that all the teams going away this weekend, the senior and the junior teams, will represent the island proud, and hopefully they come back with the goods.
And for anyone who missed it last weekend, there were a couple of junior sides due to go away, but just due to the travel disruption caused by Storm Ashley, were sadly unable to go. But not just the senior sides, Ben, but in the Ireland under-18 boys coming up against Preston on Sunday as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, another wide variety of players. Again, you've got 3 from Backers, 3 from Castletown, 2 from Harlequins, 1 from Valkyries, and then 5 from Vikings. So it's great to just see a wide spread of players going forward, and I'm sure that all the coaches that are taking these teams across this weekend are just going to have a great time. Obviously, we wish them all the best of luck, and hopefully they come back with the goods, like we say.
Indeed. Well, Ben, thank you very much indeed. And as always, so yes, plenty to look forward to in the hockey side of things going to this weekend on and off island.
Manx Radio Sport.
And finally tonight, after some work behind the scenes in the off-season, the Isle of Man's volleyball teams are returning to action ahead of the new local campaign in a few weeks' time. Well, following the Island men's squad being in action a few weeks ago, the women's team faced their first test as they contest the 2024 Des Jeffers Cup near Birkenhead in the Wirral on Sunday. Well, squad member Natalie Wood explains their ambitions across the water this weekend and how it could benefit the group as a whole before domestic games get underway soon.
I think it's a few of the same teams that we had against last year, and they all put up a pretty good fight. There were some close matches that we had, so we're looking forward to playing them again and see how we've improved.
And for the Isle of Man women's volleyball team in general, what have preparations been like up until this point? Have you had a lot of time to work together as a group, or has it been relatively recently that you've been able to start things up going into the new season?
So we just started our training sort of beginning of September, so we haven't had too long training yet together. But we've got a fantastic coach this season who is really putting us through our paces and definitely teaching us so much. So it's been a good couple of weeks getting prepared.
And just on that point, like you say, with a coach coming in and learning as a group a few more things, what are the sort of things that you've really picked up on, some of the big lessons you've learned so far?
I think one of the key things that we've focused on so far has been coverage. So when you're playing offense, you're going to attack, you want to make sure you're in there covering your teammates. So it's just a matter of the player who's attacking, trusting that your teammates will be there. And then also those who are covering, getting in there and making sure you are there to support your team.
Turning back to the tournament then, we've already seen that the men's volleyball side have already been in action in off-island competition over the last few weeks. Now the women's turn in there. Because the local season is still a few weeks away, does this also act as good preparation for the new domestic campaign, as well as being a good sort of test as a tournament within itself?
Definitely. I think it's just going to be sort of a nice way to kick off the women's side of things. Like you said, get everyone a bit excited. Hopefully just get that energy ready to go for 1st of November for the first women's matches.
Again, on the squads, we see it across all the different sports. There is an element of recruitment over the off-season, if you like, whenever that may be. From the volleyball side of things, have you had any new additions to the squad? And if so, what's it been like to embed them into the volleyball life?
Yeah, we've definitely had a few women specifically who have joined at the start of the season, and it's been fantastic. It's such a lovely group of ladies, so everyone has made them feel welcome just from day one, and it's just great to have some new faces in the team.
And just finally, again, back on the tournament itself, you sort of have an idea of what you're going to be coming up against. What's the hope? Are you planning on going out there and looking to win this tournament?
I think it's definitely a possibility. We'll try our absolute best, but I think we've improved quite a lot since last season, so looking forward to seeing what we can do this weekend.
That's Natalie Wood of the volleyball Isle of Man women's squad taking on the 2024 Des Jeffers Cup near Birkenhead in the Wirral on Sunday. Wishing them all the very best of luck. And just a reminder as well, we were speaking about hockey before. We do now have information on those mixed Premier League games that we have mentioned are postponed this weekend due to the Isle of Man senior and junior squads being in action off Island this weekend. Those games: Backers B versus Harlequins A, Castletown Celts versus Vikings B, Valkyries B versus Vikings A, and Backers A versus Valkyries A won't take place this weekend due to those Ireland national team commitments. Well, details we do have in front of us of those games being rearranged. 3 of those have been rearranged. Backers B versus Harlequins A will take place at King William's College at 7:30pm this coming Tuesday, the 29th of October. 2 games at the NSC that evening as well. 7 o'clock, Castletown Celts versus Vikings B, and then straight after at 8:30pm, Valkyries B versus Vikings A. The only of one of those 4 games still to be confirmed with a rearranged date is Backers A versus Valkyries A. We will bring you that information as soon as we get it. Well, thank you very much, as always, for joining us once again this evening. Thank you to our guests and correspondents, as always, as well. And don't forget, if you've missed anything from tonight, you'll be able to hear this all back as a podcast shortly after the conclusion of this programme, and you can find all the latest sports news at manxradio.com. Have yourself a wonderful Friday evening, whatever you're doing, and have a wonderful weekend as well. But from me, until next time, bye for now.
Manx Radio Sport.